Okay, let's talk about your production analysis. Maybe I should have said analyses because you're doing two. So you will see what's in bold in here, for those of you who are interested, are the differences between the regular section of this class and the honors section. So you will see two shows this term. We'll discuss in class what shows you're going to see, how you're going to see them. And for each, you're going to submit a 1,500 to 2,000 word essay response to the questions below. Question number one is the most important question. So as we're looking through these questions, there are some that you can answer very quickly in a simple reference. So great. I do want to see you writing a coherent paper. If you 5-paragraph essay is what makes you happy, then go for that. If there's some other form or whatever, I do not want it to just be a list of response to these questions. So create a coherent argument, but I want you to incorporate all these ideas below. So maybe I should have said ideas instead of questions. Number one, don't feel that your response to each question needs to be equal length. So what was the director's purpose, message, or concept? What's the main point of the production? What's the director saying about what it means to be a human being living in the world today? How did the director do that? How did they work with the actors, the designers, and use the technology of the theater to tell the story and reinforce these ideas? So 1.5, this is something unique to honors students. Either directly or indirectly through answering question 1, include a discussion of one or two, or all, at least one, of the theories that we covered in class: Marxism, feminism, queer theory. Feel free to focus on just one, just lesbian, just gay, just trans, just whatever. Or just refer to it as queer, that's fine. African American theory or postmodernism. So use one or two or those. Probably if you use more than two, that you're going to be going a bit long, but whatever makes you happy, at least one. So it's as I'll discuss in the guidelines down below, it's really important that you analyze this production and not this play. The most common instance of plagiarism in this class is students are assigned to watch a play and they don't actually see it. They just look it up on Wikipedia, or maybe they read the play. What I'm looking for is your ability to analyze what is unique to this production, as opposed to what's something that's just in the script that every production might do. I'm not implying that you're going to commit plagiarism, and I'm not saying that students think I'm doing plagiarism today, but that is the most common way that plagiarism happens. However, I want you to be able to see through the production to be able to see the play. So what is the inciting incident of the play? How would you describe the structure of this play as informed by course content? So that one you can answer it simply by saying, in this very linear play, and then answer another question. Who do you consider the main character, and what was their super objective? What's their life goal? What are their big obstacle, and what are they doing in the play? What is the action of this character? If you had to guess, did the actor take an internal or an external approach to developing their character? And most importantly, what did you see that drew this conclusion for you? Don't assume that if it's a musical, I get a lot of odd responses to this one. And it's hard to know, but just because it's a musical doesn't mean that it was completely external because there's so much physically involved. If they're doing a whole lot of dancing, probably, maybe, I don't know. Based on your knowledge of course content, how did the set, lights, and the costuming affect the storytelling? Don't describe them, as I'll talk about below, but refer to them and analyze how they added to course content. Maybe you don't cover each one of those, but don't cover at least a couple. And how did course content about the theater history course content affect your understanding of this production? Don't underestimate that in question. Don't just blow it off. It's an important question. And I say that because students frequently do. So there is a rubric for this that I will use to grade it, and so I strongly recommend that you look at it. It's available to you to see before you write the paper, maybe even before you see the show. That might be a good idea. I'm not going to go over it. I think it's pretty clear. But as with everything else, if you have questions, you must ask. So please do. So please do include a word count on your paper. Let me know that you know how long it is. Responses should use vocabulary and concepts from class. So you have to use at least 10 advanced vocabulary words from class. If you didn't know them before class, it's not a good choice. Acting, not a good choice. Verisimilitude. Please do not use the word verisimilitude. I say that because it is the most obvious choice for a vocabulary word, use of a vocabulary word in this assignment, and it is often used arbitrarily. I don't think I've ever read a production analysis where verisimilitude, the word verisimilitude, really contributed to the argument. It is most often just stuck in there because, ooh, I'll use this word, so just don't use that word. It drives me crazy. That I will acknowledge that is just a pet peeve of mine also. It's a pet peeve for a reason, because it's often used ineffectually, but just don't use it. Picking which words you use is an important part of the assignment. It's an important part of conveying what that you've absorbed all the concepts from class, and I'm going to pick just these. So pick words wisely. So again, it's my only opportunity to see that you've seen this production. So I strongly recommend that you write your paper and then look back and read it back and say, could I have written this just by reading the play? And if so, you probably need to discuss the production and tweak things or redo. Now, you don't have to be nice. You should assume that by this point, the first one's done at midterm, that you already know concepts and ideas and vocabulary that most of the average audience member doesn't know. So if you feel like what they did was unsuccessful, call them out. You do not have to be reverent. You should really apply, have the confidence to to throw some dish. Where was I? Yeah. Now, extremely importantly, these two things, describing things and defining words. Use the vocabulary correctly, but you don't have to define it. Avoid phrases like, a good actor should play a clear objective and obstacle and be free of physical tension, but blah, 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 blah. All that beginning stuff is filler. It is fluff. I do not want any filler in this paper. So don't define the terms, simply use them correctly. And more to this point, do not describe things. You might have to refer to things like a scenic element or a point in the story. But please listen very carefully right now. The very last thing you should be doing in this paper is describing the plot. You need to assume that I saw the play already. And even if I didn't, I probably don't need a description of the plot. So do not describe anything. You're making a point about the fact that the character wore a red dress. So you say, the red dress that the character wore indicates blah, 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 blah. And then you have your analysis of what it indicates. You do not say, in Act 2, in the first scene when the main character came down the stairs wearing a red dress with bugle bead that was very form-fitting, with blue shoes and her hair done up in a bun. That's description. I do not need that. If you simply say the red dress, I get it. I know what you're talking about. All of that is simply filler. Write your paper, then go back and take out any filler. And if you still need word count, develop your argument further. I don't need to tell you this, I'm sure. I strongly recommend that, so I recommend that you just write. Just get the ideas out there, just verbally vomit on the paper, just let it flow, and then go back and edit and get rid of the filler. And make sure that you're crafting a clear argument. And your argument is, number one, what was the director's message or concept or purpose? So that's the production analysis. In terms of late deduction, which I will add to this right now. Here we go. This is probably not news to you, but I do accept late work. If it's on time, that means you're a rock star. If you get it in within 1 week of the original due date, there's a 10% deduction. And if you get it in between 1 week late and the drop dead date, there's only a 20% deduction. So, yeah, bear in mind that the late deduction is for is off the grade that you earned. If you turn it in late, you don't get an automatic 80. So it's probably not a surprise. So if you have questions, please let me know. Bye.